The lake was full of reflected stars. The strange water gave them a faint green tinge, flickering slightly as I watched, probably from ripples. Not that the gassy lake ever seemed to ripple when I watched. I looked up, away from the water, hoping to find an anchor in the familiar constellations. There were no stars. I believe I stared for at least half a minute, while this knowledge worked slowly through my brain. It was an overcast night. The sky was dark grey with a sliver of moon just edging through. I looked back down at a lake full of stars. Hello book nerds, how are you doing? Hope you're all doing well this fine Sunday, and hope you're all surviving well with this Don't Die July. If you're new here, hello, my name is Noah, and welcome to In Between the Lines, where we talk about anything with books. Anything, literally anything. I'm just going to dive straight into this because I was very excited by this book. When I first started reading, I was put off, but always give things a chance when you read. So I'm just going to go straight into it. So we're talking about What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Now, this is a retelling of an Edgar Allan Poe classic, The Fall of the House of Usher. Pretty much says it for itself, unfortunately for us. But when I read this, I didn't know it was a retelling. So when I first started reading it, I was a bit confused and I didn't understand what was happening. And yeah, I was confused until I started reading to it and then it clicked. But we're going to go straight into this. So we're going to talk about the book a little bit. So this was written by T. Kingfisher. It was published, I want to say mid to late 2022. And it is roughly 169 pages. It is a Gothic mystery horror. And I am in love with this book. But we're going to go straight into the story and then what we do when we review and rate the book. So, story-wise, we are following the character Alex Easton, who is a retired soldier who gets a letter from an old childhood friend named Madeline Usher, basically saying, "I'm not well, I'm dying, please come." Obviously then, Alex goes to make the journey, and it doesn't take long to get there, where the Usher mansion is, but as Alex gets there, pretty straight off the bat, Alex realizes things are not what they appear to be or seem. Not just like in general, but it's the surrounding area and life around as well is not doing what it should in a way. And that's basically the premise of it, is Alex goes to see an old childhood friend and bumps into the brother of them, and everything goes downhill from there. And it's lovely and it's well done. So when we do reviews, we talk about we look at the characters, story/plot, world building, rereadability, fun factor, and then we rate it, and then what I genuinely thought of it. So there are 6 characters in this. So we have Alex Easton, who is the main character, a retired soldier from a place that I generally try to find, but it doesn't really exist, I don't think, because Google did not help me with that. I guess you could say the best way to describe them is non-binary, because they have, from where they're from, they have certain pronouns that they like to go by, and they don't like being called she or he. So I'm going to go with non-binary, though it does very much remind me of the they, zers pronouns that are around, which I don't know a lot about, so I'm not going to delve into that too much because I don't want to get anything wrong. I need to educate myself on that a bit more. They also have a horse named Hob, who they are obsessed with. It is their best friend. So lovely, lovely little character. We then have Roderick Usher, who is the brother of Madeline, who sent the letter. Roderick, obviously a childhood friend, just like Madeline, actually served under Alex in the war, and they kind of have this connection to each other, especially when you kind of realize that PTSD is kind of hinted at, and with the way that Roderick acts, you can see a lot of things about how they both have dealt with things differently. Madeline, obviously, like I said, sister of Roderick, childhood friend to Alex. Not well at all. When Alex sees Madeline, while yes, there's certain things that Alex remembers about Madeline, the way that Madeline looks is not how Alex remembers, and it's very off-putting to Alex to see this once strong, youthful person not look how they should. We then have another character named Angus, who is an old family friend of Alex. So Angus knew Alex's parents, their father specifically, works underneath them, and it's kind of like this strong guardian type figure to Alex, and is that backbone when Alex needs it. We also have a character named Denton, who is a friend of Roderick, who is an American and a doctor. So Roderick has asked Denton to come and have a look, and Denton's been there for a couple of weeks more before Alex turned up. We also have my favourite character, which is, I'm probably going to butcher this name, and this is Miss Eugenia Potter. Now, Miss Potter is an Englishwoman who likes to fight against sexism. Now, the reason why I like Miss Potter is because she's very much into mycology, which is the research in mushrooms. And unfortunately for this sort of work, it's a very sexist thing, so only men can do it apparently, and Miss Potter is very much like, no, I'm a nerd and a geek and I'm passionate about this, which I love, but I'm going to show them that it's not just a man's little workplace, it's for everyone, and that's why I love them. Sorry, Milo, come here. So, story/plot. So we know the story. Alex gets a letter from an old childhood friend who's basically like, I'm not well, and Alex decides to basically check this out to make sure everything is okay. Plot-wise, it's very well done because it is a short book, and a lot of times a lot of short books will try to speed things along. Not in this book at all. It moves at a very comfortable pace, and for a lot of what happens in it, it's done very well because it's not rushed and it's not too slow. It's a comfortable pace and it all just fits together, and I love that about this. I thought I would have an issue with it, and I'll go into that more when I tell you a bit about my review of that, but love the way that it goes. World building is very well done. Though there were a lot of places that it's said in here I tried to find and it was like, oh no, it's all made up. So that was interesting, but it's described so well that I thought it was a real place. I may be wrong. I may be absolutely just not looking things up right now. I'm just paranoid. Oh my god. But world building, even if it is or it isn't, very well described. It's just clicks so well with what is happening in the story. And it's not to a point where there's too much detail, where people just kind of do pages and pages of detail that they don't need. It's just, here's the information that you need for us to progress, and I love that. Re-readability, I will be reading this again. I actually really enjoyed reading this, and it's not a long read at all. Like I said, 169 pages roughly, and it was just, I want to say beautiful, but not in the way that other people say, oh, that's beautiful. Like when they look at flowers, like, oh, they're beautiful. I'm like, no, this is a gothic mystery horror. It's beautiful. Fun factor, there are certain things in this that I would say is fun. Not because it's like ha-ha fun, but more because it's, that genuinely creeps me out. That's fun. And that's what I love about this. So I'm going to talk about the rating now. So I'm actually going to rate this 5 stars. Now, originally I wasn't, because at the beginning, I didn't realize it was a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher. So I didn't know that. So when I was reading it at the beginning, I was a bit confused because it was kind of going backwards and forth a little bit, but also kind of breaking that boundary of where it's like the character's talking to us. But then things kind of click and go into place as you read in. And then I didn't feel like such a dick anymore because it made sense. So if you ever have doubts about something, you're unsure, just continue reading because it'll all click into place. There's also the fact that this book had made me think of something that this book made me have a moment where when I got to like past a certain chapter, I'm going to say just past the halfway mark, something happens. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it made, after I read this little bit that happens, I closed the book and I actually had a moment when I put the book down and I was like, I've not had this feeling before, but this book has genuinely freaked me out. And it's not freaky where it makes me worried or well, it was a little bit uncomfortable. But not to a point where I was gonna have nightmares or anything like that. It was atmospheric and detailed about something that happens, and it made me genuinely have a moment where I was like, this has genuinely freaks me out a bit. I've not had that with a book. Yes, I enjoyed all the other horror books that we've talked about and stuff, and they're like body horror, and that can be like uncomfortable and queasy for some, and I kind of like that, but this was a whole different level. I really enjoyed this book. I know that I'm going to look into more of Kingfisher's books, absolutely, and I know they also write books under a different name for children, which baffles me because this book was so good. It was so freaky. And the fact that there's children books out there baffles me. But yeah, I would like to know if you have read this or any of the Kingfisher books. If you have any that you would recommend, I would love to know. And be good. Try and survive the rest of this July. And I'll see you very, very soon with the next review next Sunday. Much love, be good, and make good decisions in life.
I've known some. Until I first met you, I was lonesome. And when you came inside, dear, my heart grew light, and this whole world seemed new to me.